This is your first ever children's book.
Yes.
Unstoppable Us, How Humans Took Over the World. Why was it important for you to write a book for younger readers?
Because I wanted to really help them understand the world.
Fake news have been with us for thousands of years. Just think of the Bible.
All this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news.
And help them understand who they are.
Humans are now hackable animals.
This is the biggest question maybe in the life of every kid.
Not the intelligent design of some God above the clouds, but our intelligent design.
What am I?
Humans are now hackable animals.
The world is so complicated and sometimes frightening.
You know, the whole idea that humans have this soul, this is my free will, that's over.
Because I wanted to really help them understand the world.
A new regime of surveillance. The next phase is the surveillance going under our skin. The most important development of the 21st century, this ability to hack human beings.
Help them understand who they are.
To go under the skin, collect biometric data, analyze it, and understand people better than they understand themselves.
Hackable animals.
Armor of truth.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 11 says, "Then I continued to watch as the little horn was speaking arrogant words." Well, the little horn, that's who you've just heard from. What boastful, arrogant proclamations. That is Yuval Noah Harari, New World prophet and advisor to the World Economic Forum. And he is working day and night to establish a new religion. And now he's written a book for preteens. And so far, from what we can tell from it, they're meant to train the children of the world in following after the beast. Harari shows no shame in his own elitist, anti-human worldview as he provides doctrinal revelation for those just old enough to comprehend concepts like community, faith, duty, and he most certainly intends to persuade children away from God and into his collectivist utopian vision for humanity. So this book is deadly, and it's headed straight for your children. It's headed for public schools all over the world.
Luke chapter 6 and verse 40. A pupil is not above his teacher, but everyone, after he has been fully trained, will be like his teacher. Whoever is educating our children is discipling our children, which means whoever educates the majority of children is discipling the majority of children. And if everyone will ultimately be like his teacher, if we continue to send our children to Caesar for their education, we need to stop being surprised when they come home as Romans.
I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news.
Hackable animals. Proverbs 1:7, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Romans 12:2, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Look at 2 Corinthians 10:5. We are destroying speculations and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God. Colossians 2:8, see to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deception, according to the tradition of men, according to the empty principles of the world, rather than according to Christ. Listen to this. 1 Timothy 6:20, O Timothy, guard what has been entrusted to you, avoiding worldly and empty chatter and the opposing arguments of what is falsely called knowledge. How can we look at these principles about the training of the mind and not apply them to the way that we educate our children?
And we're going to explain why you need to be on alert and why you need to spread the word about Yuval Harari, about this book, and you need to understand this new religion that the ruling class intends for every child in the world to embrace. They believe they have a divine right to save the world or recreate it in their own image.
Harari is an Israeli historian, so it is anticipated that this book series will be supplementary history material in school systems around the world. To come soon as well is a digital workshop for elementary and middle schoolers with a step-by-step guide for teachers so they won't be able to deviate from it. Also, New York Times has it listed as one of their 2022 best sellers. It's just important to remember that Harari is heavily promoted by Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Barack Obama. Of course, he serves as one of Klaus Schwab's top advisors. So from the earliest pages, Harari lets, quote, to be a good human being, you need to understand the power you have and what to do with it. And he's aiming to make sure that there is no more belief in God. The book's dedication reads, "To all beings, those gone, those living, and those still to come, our ancestors made the world what it is. We can decide what the world will become." Deborah DeGroff is an author and expert on children's books. She analyzes from a biblical perspective, and she has 3 decades of experience doing this. In her latest article, she peels back the layers of deception in this book. So when you open the book, the front jacket begins with, "The strangest tale you'll ever hear," and it's a true story. He begins with a 6 million years ago picture of an upright creature that is a cross between a human and an ape, of course.
6 million?
6 million.
6
just
million
6 million
years.
This is supposed to be the actual truth.
It's a true story. Okay.
So the caption reads that this was the latest common ancestor of humans and chimpanzees. Planet Earth was once ruled by many different animals, but now we humans rule everything: the land, the sea, and the sky. The only reason lions, dolphins, and eagles still exist is because, well, we allow them to. And it's a true story, right? So he wants to remind you this is what really happened. Chapter 1 teaches the children that millions of years ago we were just ordinary animals who ate worms and climbed trees to pick fruit. That when kids wake up in the middle of the night frightened that there's monsters under their bed, this is simply because it's a memory, right? Like a cellular memory from millions of years ago when monsters actually did sneak up on children. And we jump to another topic, and the claim is made that the humans invented fire.
Invented fire. Prometheus got no love.
A single weak human with a fire stick could burn down an entire forest in a matter of hours, destroying thousands of trees and killing thousands of animals. Right. So in the next chapter, the children learn that our planet was actually home to many different kinds of humans. However, according to Harari, the sapiens eventually killed off all of those ancestors.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Harari says, you see, we sapiens are not very nice animals. Often, he concludes, this is due to different skin colors, languages, or religions. A few years ago, scientists discovered that at least some of our sapient ancestors didn't kill or starve all the other human beings that they met. It seems Harari intends for these middle grade students to conclude that some people today are not 100% evil sapiens, since they have some Neanderthal DNA. So Harari then speculates as to what the world would be like today if our ancestors had been nicer. Part 2 of the book is Harari's explanation as to why and how sapiens ended up ruling the world. Again, as he stated earlier, he says that cooperation is what makes us so powerful. He states this concept over and over again, right? The groupthink and the social dynamics and the communitarianism. And so he loves to talk about this great lion spirit story. He says, there's a great lion spirit that lives above the clouds. If you obey the great lion spirit, then when you die, you'll go to the land of the spirits, and you'll have all the bananas you can eat.
Obey. If you obey the lion spirit.
Interesting word. Well, but if you disobey the great lion spirit, the big lion will come and eat you. And then he goes on to say, of course, this story isn't true at all, but if 1,000 people believe it, they'll all start doing whatever the story tells them to do.
Now that's crazy, right? That's crazy. You start off telling that this story's not true, but we should believe it. Let's all agree on a fairy tale. No, we can't agree on what we're going to have for lunch.
He expands on this, just in case it went over the kids' heads. If you say the great lion spirit wants everyone to give a banana to the priest in the temple, and in return, when they die, they'll receive lots and lots of bananas in the land of the spirits, then 1,000 people will bring bananas to the priest. He goes on. You could never persuade a chimpanzee to give you a banana by promising him that when he dies, he'll go to chimpanzee heaven and have all the bananas he can eat. Only sapiens believe stories like that. And that's why we rule the world. whereas poor chimps are locked up in zoos. When it comes to family, the book reads, nowadays, some people have one partner for their entire life. Some people have many partners.
What?
Some remain single. In a few countries, one man can be married to several women at the same time.
Well, that's insane!
In other countries, two women can get married to each other.
Super, let me get a look at those babes in that swimsuit issue.
And so can two men.
Well, that is just insane!
Harari speculates about the types of families that may have been in the Stone Age times. Quote, in a hut is one woman, her 3 children, and her current girlfriend.
What? I don't believe this! What a sick, sick city!
There is one thing we are certain our ancestors did, and that's something we know a lot about. They caused most of the world's animals to disappear. Humans were already the deadliest animals on Earth. Harari then lets the kids know that although our ancestors didn't realize the impact of what they are doing, we do. We have no excuse and are responsible for the future of all animals.
Oh, I see.
So, in summary, will Harari's gospel message change the worldview of our children? He talks about made-up good stories that influence people enough to change the world, and yet he declares that his story is a true one. The next volume will be out. It's going to be Agriculture Revolution. Apparently, each book will build upon the foundation laid out in the previous volume. The Gospel of Harari has already convinced at least some of his audience that God is just a made-up story to make people obedient and cooperative. And so we're just left to wonder, is the next book going to have the no God, no soul, no free will concept?
Listen to this. Government education was established around 1870, modeled after the Prussian format, rooted in secular humanism. It was opposed by American Christians for decades. First 50 years, the church fought tooth and nail against compulsory education and against government education. They knew better. As late as 1900, still 2/3 of all high school children were educated at home or the church. Education is not mentioned in the United States Constitution, but guess what is? The 10th Amendment. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. The federal government has no constitutional jurisdiction over education. People with a Christian worldview, 11 times less likely to condone adultery, 15 times less likely to believe homosexuality is acceptable, 18 times less likely to condone drunkenness, 31 times less likely to condone premarital cohabitation, and 100 times less likely to endorse abortion. But because 90% of the people who call themselves Christians don't have a Christian worldview, we have to constantly remind them to act like what they are not. We're currently losing 75 to 88%, between 70 and 88% of young people by the end of their freshman year in college. Homeschool students remain in the faith of their fathers all the way through college, according to NARI, at a rate of 90 to 95%. People are always asking the same questions when they find out that we're a homeschool family. And these questions are rooted in the fact that they've been discipled by the system. What about socialization? Exactly, we get that, and that's the easy one, all right? What about socialization? The other question is that legal? And the other question is, where do you get your curriculum? Who oversees your curriculum? Those are the 3 questions. Why does everyone ask the exact same 3 questions? Because everyone's been discipled by the same teacher. Is that legal? Where does that question come from? That question comes from sheep who have forgotten that they are free men. We ask that question because we believe that children are wards of the state. We ask that question because we've been discipled by the system that says it owns us. And the first question everybody asks is, how can you educate your own children? Why? Why? Because the system wants you to be a slave. I'm a free man. My children are mine, not wards of the state. The government has no jurisdiction over my children.
May God bless the church. May God keep and protect her with spirit-filled warriors.
Well, that's a rather interesting position coming from a man on a crusade against the evils of technology.
I'm not against technology, Doctor. I'm against the men who deify it at the expense of human truth.
Armor of Truth.
Faith is resistance.
announced the death of God and called for the birth of the Übermensch, the Superman, who would take humanity to new heights and to create a new world order.
Find us at the Armor of Truth YouTube channel and log on armoroftruth.net.